The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. And Rowan stepped into the executive floor, her heels clicking against the polished marble like accusations she could not outrun. Coffee sloshed in her takeaway cup, the lid not quite secure. And as she turned the corner toward the boardroom, it tipped, spilling dark liquid across the pristine conference table where the merger documents lay spread out like a battlefield map. Quinn's voice cut through the air before Rowan could even gasp. Low and edged with steel. What the hell have you done? Rowan froze, the cup slipping from her numb fingers to clatter on the floor, the stain blooming across pages that represented months of Quinn's relentless drive. Her heart slammed against her ribs. A wild thing trapped. And she lifted her eyes to meet the CEO's gaze. Those blue eyes that could freeze a room or ignite it, depending on the day. Quinn stood at the head of the table, arms crossed over her crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to the elbows revealing forearms corded with tension. The office tower in Manhattan hummed around them. But in that moment, it was just the two of them. The acrid scent of coffee mingling with the faint leather polish of the room. It was an accident, Rowan stammered, her voice thinner than she intended, cheeks burning as she dropped to her knees, blotting at the mess with her scarf. The fabric turned muddy brown. Useless. And she felt the weight of Quinn's stare like a physical press. At 28, Rowan had clawed her way into this marketing firm from a small town in Ohio, trading cornfields for skyscrapers. But moments like this made her feel small again. Exposed. Quinn, 35 and forged in the fires of Silicon Valley startups before claiming this throne in New York, did not tolerate sloppiness. Not from anyone. Least of all the eager junior who had caught her eye during interviews for that spark. That unpolished fire. Quinn exhaled slowly. A sound that was half sigh, half growl. And stepped closer. Her polished loafers stopping inches from Rowan's kneeling form. An accident. That's what you call jeopardizing a $20 million deal because you couldn't secure a lid. Her words hung heavy, laced with the disappointment that cut deeper than anger. Rowan glanced up, the angle making Quinn tower, her short black hair catching the fluorescent glow, jaw set in that way that made subordinates scatter. But there was something else in her eyes. A flicker Rowan had glimpsed before. In stolen moments across meeting rooms. A hunger that mirrored her own buried ache. Rowan swallowed, the knot in her throat painful. I'll fix it. Reprint. Dry clean. Whatever it takes. She pushed to her feet, brushing dampness from her skirt, determined not to crumble. The boardroom windows framed the Hudson River below, gray waters churning under a slate sky, mirroring the storm inside her. Quinn's punishment came swift, her voice brooking no argument. You'll stay late tonight. Every night until the pitch is flawless. And you'll report directly to me. No excuses. The words landed like a sentence. Isolation in a sea of corporate bustle. And Rowan nodded, pulse racing not just from fear, but from the proximity. The way Quinn's cologne lingered. Subtle and commanding. Like aged whiskey. As the day wore on, the office pulsed with activity. Phones ringing in staccato bursts. Keyboards clacking like distant rain. Rowan buried herself in revisions. Her cubicle a fortress of screens and sticky notes. But her mind wandered to Quinn's office down the hall. Door ajar. The woman inside pacing as she barked orders into a headset. Lunch was a forgotten granola bar. Crumbs scattering as Rowan pored over data. Her fingers trembling slightly from caffeine and nerves. By evening, the floor emptied. Colleagues waving goodbyes on their way to bars in Soho or trains back to Brooklyn, leaving echoes in the corridors. Quinn's door swung open at 8. And she leaned against the frame. Tie loosened. Top button undone. Revealing a sliver of collarbone that Rowan forced herself not to stare at. My office. Now. The command was quiet. But it pulled Rowan like gravity. She gathered her laptop. Heart thudding. And followed. The carpet muffling her steps. Inside. The space was all glass and steel. Views stretching to the glittering skyline. A testament to Quinn's ascent from intern to empire builder. Bookshelves lined one wall. Spines worn from late nights. A single photo frame on the desk showing Quinn with an older woman. Perhaps a mentor. Both laughing at some forgotten summit. Sit, Quinn said, gesturing to the leather chair opposite her desk. Sinking into her own with a weariness that softened her edges. Rowan obeyed. Knees pressed together. Hands clasped to still their shake. The air between them thickened. Charged. As Quinn slid a folder across the polished oak. The pitch deck. Redo the visuals. Make them bleed authenticity. Her eyes met Rowan's. Holding. And in that pause, something shifted. A current under the surface. Rowan nodded. Opening the file. But her focus splintered. Drawn to the way Quinn's fingers drummed the desk. Nails short and practical. A contrast to the power she wielded. Hours blurred. The city lights winking on below like conspirators. They worked in tandem. Quinn leaning over Rowan's shoulder to point out flaws. Her breath warm against Rowan's ear. Sending shivers down her spine. Here. Make it visceral. People buy stories. Not stats. Quinn's hand brushed Rowan's on the trackpad. Lingering a beat too long. And Rowan held her breath. The touch electric. Unspoken. She turned her head slightly. Their faces close. Lips parted on words that died unspoken. Quinn pulled back first. Clearing her throat. The moment fracturing like thin ice. By midnight. Exhaustion clawed at them. But the deck took shape. Raw and compelling. Quinn stood. Stretching. Her shirt pulling taut across her shoulders. Good work. For now. The praise was grudging. But it warmed Rowan more than it should. A spark in the cold. As she packed up. Quinn's voice stopped her at the door. Rowan. Don't let one spill define you. It was softer. Almost gentle. And Rowan paused. Hand on the knob. Glancing back. Quinn's eyes were shadowed. Vulnerable in the lamplight. And for a heartbeat. Rowan saw the woman beneath the armor. Lonely in her tower. The elevator ride down was solitary. The descent mirroring Rowan's thoughts. Tumbling through regret and that forbidden pull. Outside. The November chill bit through her coat. New York streets alive with cabs honking. Steam rising from grates. She walked to her subway stop. Breath fogging the air. Replaying the brush of skin. The weight of those eyes. Back in her cramped Brooklyn apartment. Peeling paint and thrift store furniture. Rowan collapsed onto her bed. Staring at the ceiling cracks like maps to elsewhere. Sleep came fitful. Dreams tangled with coffee stains and blue gazes. Waking her with a start as dawn crept in. Gray light filtering through blinds. The next morning brought routine. Coffee sipped carefully this time. The office filling with chatter. But the dynamic had shifted. Subtle as a tide. During the team huddle. Quinn's directives landed with precision. But her eyes flicked to Rowan more often. Lingering on the curve of her neck as she spoke. Rowan felt it. That gaze like a caress. And her responses grew bolder. Ideas flowing freer under the scrutiny. Lunch in the break room. Surrounded by colleagues dissecting weekend plans. Rowan picked at a salad. Mind elsewhere. Until Sarah from accounting leaned in. Heard you got reamed by the boss yesterday. Tough break. Rowan forced a smile. Fork pausing. Yeah. But it's fixable. Inside. Turmoil churned. The punishment a double-edged blade. Carving space for something dangerous. Afternoon meetings dragged. Projections flickering on screens. But Rowan's notes were sharp. Her contributions pulling nods from the room. Quinn watched from her perch at the table's end. Expression unreadable. But when the group broke. She murmured as Rowan passed. Keep that fire. It's rare. The words lodged in Rowan's chest. Warm and insistent. Fueling her through emails and calls. Evening fell again. The city transitioning to neon pulse. And Quinn's summons came by a text. Curt and expected. My office. Deck review. Rowan arrived with printouts. Nerves jangling like loose change. Quinn was at the window, back turned, silhouette against the twilight sprawl. "Come look at this." She waved Rowan over. And they stood shoulder to shoulder, poring over layouts on a tablet. Bodies close in the vast space. Their discussion wove through strategy and aesthetics. Voices low, punctuated by pauses where breath synced. Quinn's arm grazed Rowan's as she pointed. And neither moved away. The contact a quiet rebellion. "You're good at this," Quinn admitted. Tone rough with surprise. Turning to face her. Rowan met her eyes. Green clashing with blue. The air humming. "I had a good teacher." The flirtation slipped out unintended. And Quinn's lips twitched. Almost a smile? Before she stepped back. The spell breaking. They wrapped late. The building a ghost town. Echoes of their footsteps the only sound. At the elevator. Quinn punched the button. Then hesitated. "Get home safe." It was simple. Caring. And Rowan nodded. Throat tight. "You too." The doors closed on Quinn's retreating form. Leaving Rowan alone with the descent. Heart full and aching. In her apartment that night. She paced the kitchen. Tea steaming untouched. Wrestling with the pull. The wrongness of wanting the woman who held her career in iron hands. Days bled into a rhythm. Punishment morphing into partnership. Late nights in Quinn's office a secret world. They ordered Thai from a spot in Midtown. Containers steaming on the desk. Chopsticks clinking as they ate. Conversation drifting from work to fragments of life. Quinn spoke little of her past. Mentions of a cutthroat climb from California boardrooms. A family left behind in Sacramento. Rowan shared glimpses. Ohio roots. The drive to prove herself in this concrete jungle. Laughter slipped in. Rare and bright. Easing the tension. One evening. Rain lashed the windows. Thunder rumbling distant. They were deep in revisions. Screens glowing. When Quinn's phone buzzed. A call she took pacing. Voice clipped with frustration. "Handle it tomorrow." "I'm occupied." She hung up. Rubbing her temples. And Rowan ventured. "Rough day." Quinn sank into her chair. Exhaling long. "Every day. But this helps." Her eyes met Rowan's. Raw. And the room shrank. Desire coiling tight. Rowan reached across. Hand covering Quinn's on the desk. A bold bridge. Quinn stilled. Then turned her palm up. Fingers lacing. Warm and steady. The touch lingered. Breath shallow. Until Quinn pulled away gently. "We can't." The words were a whisper. Heavy with regret. And Rowan nodded. Withdrawing. The loss sharp. But the seed was planted. Desire rooting deep. Promising storms ahead. Weeks into the penance. The merger pitch loomed. A beast demanding perfection. And Rowan's role expanded. Her ideas threading through the narrative like veins. The office buzzed with urgency. Dry runs in the auditorium where spotlights glared. Voices echoing off high ceilings. Quinn commanded from the front. Her presence magnetic. Suit jacket slung over a chair. Sleeves rolled higher. Exposing the tattoo on her inner wrist. A small compass rose. Faded from time. Rowan wondered at its story during her turns at the podium. Words steady despite the way Quinn's gaze anchored her. Intense and unblinking. After one rehearsal. As the team filtered out to happy hours in the village. Quinn called Rowan back. "Walk with me." They rode down in silence. The elevator a cocoon. Then stepped into the crisp autumn air. Leaves skittering across Fifth Avenue sidewalks. Pedestrians hurried. Umbrellas blooming against a drizzle. And Quinn led them towards Central Park. The path crunching underfoot. "You were sharp today," she said. Hands in pockets. Breath visible in the chill. Rowan shivered. Not just from cold. Tucking her scarf tighter. "Coming from you. That's gold." They wandered the paths. Trees bare-branched skeletons against the fading light. Joggers pounding by. Conversation flowed easier out here. Away from fluorescent confines. Quinn sharing a memory of her first big break. A pitch in San Francisco fog that nearly sank. Saved by sheer will. Felt like drowning, she admitted. Voice low. Eyes on the reservoir's dark water. Rowan listened. Seeing cracks in the facade. The woman who pushed so hard to outrun doubt. You made it, Rowan said softly. Bumping her shoulder lightly. Quinn glanced sideways. A half-smile ghosting her lips. We all do. Or we break. The walk stretched. Dusk deepening to night. Street lamps flickering on. They stopped at a vendor for hot cider. Steam rising as they sipped. Standing close against the wind. Rowan's fingers brushed Quinn's again. Intentional this time. And Quinn did not pull away. Her thumb tracing a slow circle on Rowan's knuckle. The touch ignited. A slow burn. And Rowan's pulse thrummed. Words failing her. Quinn, she started. But the name hung. Layden. Quinn's eyes darkened. Searching. I know. They parted then. The subway swallowing Rowan. Her body alive with echoes of that graze. Mind-spinning scenarios in the rattling car home. Back in Brooklyn. The apartment felt smaller. Walls pressing as Rowan stripped off damp clothes. Shower steam fogging the mirror. She traced her reflection. Collarbone where Quinn's gaze had lingered. Imagining hands there. Lips. Desire pulled hot. Forbidden. And she pushed it down. Curling under covers with a sigh that rattled her chest. Sleep evaded. Replaced by replays. The compass tattoo a mystery she longed to chart. Morning brought clarity's edge. Coffee black and strong. Commute a blur of faces. At the office. Normalcy reigned. Meetings and memos. But undercurrents pulled. During a strategy session. Rowan's proposal sparked debate. And Quinn backed her. Voice firm. She's right. Lean into the emotion. Colleagues nodded. But Rowan's thanks was a private glance. Loaded. Lunch alone in her cube. Sandwich uneaten. She drafted emails. Fingers pausing on keys. Composing unsent confessions. Afternoon shifted to fieldwork. A client visit in Chelsea galleries. Quinn insisting Rowan join. They cabbed across town. Leather seats creaking. Thighs brushing in the tight space. The gallery hummed with whispers. White walls stark against bold abstracts. The client a silver-haired collector with sharp questions. Quinn navigated smoothly. Her hand light on Rowan's back during introductions. A guide's touch that lingered. Warming through fabric. Rowan spoke when prompted. Voice steady. But awareness of Quinn beside her sharpened everything. Sense of paint and Quinn's cologne mingling. Post-meeting. Over espresso at a corner cafe. The client sealed interest. And Quinn's foot nudged Rowan's under the table. A secret signal. Excitement bubbled as they exited. Rain-slick streets reflecting neon. We nailed it, Quinn said. Grinning rare and full. Pulling Rowan into a quick hug outside the cab stand. Bodies pressed brief. Curves aligning. And Rowan inhaled sharply. Arms wrapping tight before release. Teamwork, she murmured. Face flushed. Quinn's eyes held hers. Promise flickering. Then she hailed a ride. The door shutting on the moment. Evening found them back in the office. Celebrating quietly with takeout sushi. Unrolled on napkins amid spreadsheets. Laughter came easier. Quinn recounting a botched presentation from years back. Face contorting in mimicry. Rowan leaned in. Chopsticks midway. Caught by the animation. The way Quinn's eyes crinkled. You're different out of armor, she said. Bold in the dim. Quinn paused. Tuna forgotten. Gaze steady. And your trouble in yours. The air thickened. Forks down. And Quinn's hand found Rowan's knee under the desk. Squeezing once. Firm. Rowan covered it. Holding. Breath sinking in the quiet. They lingered after. Cleaning up slow. Touches accidental turning deliberate. A finger along an arm. A hip bump in the narrow space. At the door. Quinn turned. Close enough for foreheads to touch. This is dangerous, she whispered. Voice rough. Rowan nodded. Lips brushing Quinn's jaw. Accidental. Electric. Worth it. Quinn exhaled. Stepping back. The space between them a chasm now. Rowan left first. Elevator descent a freefall. Body humming. Mind alight with what-ifs. Nights blurred into a haze of want. Work the thin veil over deeper currents. The pitch prep intensified. Travel to a focus group in Chicago booked. Quinn assigning Rowan co-lead. Airport the next week was chaos. Line snaking. Announcements droning. They met at security. Quinn in jeans and leather jacket. Casual armor that softened her. Hair tousled. Ready for the wind, she teased. And Rowan laughed. Nerves easing as they boarded. Seats adjacent. Wings cutting through clouds. Flight time stretched. Turbulence jostling them closer. Shoulders touching. Quinn pulled out a book. Thriller worn. But her free hand rested on the armrest. Pinky hooking Rowan's discreet. The contact grounded. A thread through the hum. Over peanuts and soda. Talk turned personal. Rowan confessing small-town chafes. The itch to create beyond limits. Quinn listened. Nodding. Then shared her own fracture. A mentor's betrayal that hardened her shell. Trust is a luxury, she said. Eyes distant. Rowan squeezed her hand. Not always. Chicago greeted with gale winds. Hotel lobby all brass and marble. Keys handed over. Their rooms adjoined. A detail Quinn claimed coincidence. But her wink said otherwise. Dinner was deep dish at a corner spot. Cheese stretching as they ate. Candles flickering on checkered cloths. Conversation wove dreams and doubts. Quinn's foot tracing Rowan's calf under the table. Slow and teasing. Heat built. Unspoken. And back at the hotel. Elevator rise thick with tension. Quinn's hand at Rowan's waist as doors closed. At her door. Rowan turned. Keycard fumbling. Good night. Quinn's hand caught hers. Thumb stroking. Almost. Lips met then. Soft at first. Testing. Then deepening. Quinn's back to the wall. Hands framing Rowan's face. Tongues touched. Tentative. Then urgent. Bodies pressing. Breaths mingling hot. Rowan pulled back gasping. Forehead to Quinn's. We should stop. Quinn's eyes burned. We won't. But she did. Stepping away. Door clicking shut behind Rowan. Leaving her slumped against it. Lips swollen. Desire a roar. Sleep was fractured. Dreams of skin and size. Waking to alarms blare. Focus group day dawned crisp. Lake Michigan glittering blue. Venue was a loft space. Participants clustered on couches. Feedback flowing. Rowan facilitated. Voice steady. But Quinn's presence across the circle pulled. Their shared secret a pulse. Notes scribbled. Insights gold. And post-session. Over beers at a dive. Team toasting. But Quinn and Rowan's glances lingered. Loaded. Evening flight delayed. They waited in a gate lounge. Chairs side by side. Thighs touching. Quinn's head dropped to Rowan's shoulder brief. Exhaustion claiming. Thank you, she murmured. And Rowan turned. Lips brushing temple. Always. Plane landed late. City lights a welcome below. Cab ride home silent but charged. Hands linked in the dark. Back in routine. The kiss haunted. Stolen moments in supply closets. A brush of lips behind closed doors. Hands exploring cautious. But guilt gnawed. Power imbalance a shadow. Quinn pulling back some nights. Eyes troubled. This could ruin us, she'd say. Voice cracking. And Rowan would hold her. Whispering assurances. Hearts sinking in the quiet. The pitch day arrived. Auditorium packed. Suits and ties a sea. Quinn presented first. Voice commanding. Slides flawless. Rowan's visuals drawing gasps. Then her turn. Stepping up. Heart pounding. Quinn's nod from the wings a lifeline. Words flowed. Story weaving emotion through data. Room wrapped. Applause thundered as she finished. Quinn's hug at the end fierce. Whispered, proud, against her ear. Celebration party in a rooftop bar. Manhattan sprawl below. Cocktails flowing. Colleagues danced. But Quinn pulled Rowan to a corner. Overlooking the river. You were brilliant. Lips met again. Hidden by shadows. Deeper now. Hands roaming backs. Hips aligning. Desire crested. But Quinn broke away. Breathing hard. My place. Now. The words were gravel. Invitation and plea. Quinn's apartment perched in Tribeca. Loft space with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the night's electric hum. The cab ride there was torture. Hands clasped tight. Thighs pressed. Silence thick with anticipation. Key turned in the lock. Door shutting soft. And Quinn was on her. Backing Rowan against the wall. Kiss fierce. Teeth grazing lip. Hands fumbled buttons. Shirts shedding like skins. Bare torsos meeting. Skin fever hot. Rowan's fingers tangled in Quinn's hair. Pulling her closer. Gasps echoing in the vast space. They stumbled to the bedroom. Trail of skirt and pants. Bed a king expanse of cool sheets. Quinn hovered above. Eyes dark pools. Tracing Rowan's curves with reverent touches. Lips following. Neck to breast. Eliciting moans that shattered quiet. God. Rowan, Quinn breathed. Voice wrecked. Burying face in her shoulder. Hips grinding slow. Rowan arched. Nails digging into Quinn's back. The compass tattoo under her palm a talisman. Pleasure built. Waves crashing. Bodies slick. Cries muffled in pillows as release came. Shattering. Binding. After. Tangled limbs and slowing breaths. Quinn traced patterns on Rowan's stomach. Lazy and content. I've wanted this since that damn interview, she confessed. Voice soft in the dark. Rowan turned. Kissing her slow. Me too. The way you looked at me. Like you saw through. Talk flowed then. Vulnerability spilling. Quinn admitting the isolation of command. The fear of softness as weakness. Rowan shared her own scars. Family doubts back home. The ache for connection in this impersonal city. Morning light filtered through blinds. Coffee brewing in the kitchen. Robes loose as they moved about. Quinn at the island. Pouring mugs. Hair mussed. Looking younger. Unguarded. Stay today, she said. Handing one over. Steam curling. Rowan leaned in. Sipping. The domesticity a bomb. Work calls. But they lingered. Breakfast of toast and fruit. Feet hooked under the counter. Planning a weekend escape. Perhaps the Hamptons. Away from prying eyes. Reality intruded Monday. Office corridors alive with merger buzz. Success rippling. Colleagues congratulated. Slaps on backs. But under the surface. Rowan and Quinn navigated careful. Glances coded. Touches accidental in passing. Lunch in a deli nearby. Sandwiches wrapped. Eaten on a park bench. Pigeons strutting. This secrecy, Rowan said. Biting into rye. It's thrilling. But heavy. Quinn nodded. Eyes on the horizon. We'll figure it. Soon. Afternoon brought a curve. HR memo on conduct policies. Innocuous but pointed. Whispers of past scandals in other firms. Quinn's jaw tightened in her office. Door closed. Rowan summoned. Read this, she said. Passing the printout. Voice edged. Rowan scanned. Stomach dropping at the fraternization clauses. It's just words. Quinn paced. Hands raking hair. Words that end careers. Tension crackled. The high of the weekend fracturing. And Rowan reached for her. But Quinn stepped back. We need space. To think. The distance stung. Days stretching taut. Meetings professional. Clipped. Quinn's directives sharp. Rowan's responses measured. Evenings alone. Rowan in her apartment. wine glass in hand. Staring at city lights. Replaying touches now ghosts. Texts came sparse. Quinn's busy. Talk soon, a knife twist. Work piled. A new campaign launch. Deadlines biting. And Rowan threw herself in. Sketches frantic. Ideas bold to fill the void. One night. Storm raging outside. Thunder shaking windows. Quinn appeared at Rowan's door. Soaked. Eyes wild. I can't do this, she said. Stepping in. Water pooling. Rowan pulled her close. Towel fetched. But Quinn resisted. Words tumbling. The risk. If it leaks. You're collateral. I can't ruin you. Tears tracked Quinn's cheeks. Mixing with rain. And Rowan cupped her face. You won't. We choose this. Lips met desperate. Clothes shedding wet. To the floor. Bodies crashing together on the rug. Urgent and raw. Reclaiming. Post-storm. They lay spent. Rain pattering. Quinn's head on Rowan's chest. I'm scared, she whispered. Vulnerability stark. Rowan stroked her hair. Me too. But together. Promises exchanged. Fragile but fierce. And morning brought tentative normalcy. Breakfast shared. Plans for discretion refined. The campaign rolled out. Launch event in a Soho warehouse. Lights strung. DJ pulsing low. Suits mingled with creatives. Champagne flutes clinking. Rowan presented segments. Voice carrying. Quinn in the crowd. Pride evident in her nod. Post-speech. In a shadowed alcove. Hands linked brief. Quinn murmuring. Stunning. Heat flared. But restraint held. The pull a constant hum. Travel came again. This time LA for industry confab. Sun-drenched days in glass towers. Hotel suite adjoining. Nights blurring into explorations. Sheets twisted. Moans echoing off tile. Days professional. Panels and networking. But evenings theirs. Dinners in hidden bistros. Walks on Santa Monica Pier. Waves crashing. Salt air tangling hair. This could be us, Quinn said one dusk. Arm around Rowan's waist. Ferris wheel lights spinning. Free. Rowan leaned in. It will. Return to New York chilled the idol. Winter creeping. Snow dusting ledges. Office rumors stirred. A colleague's sidelong glance. Whisper of favorites. Quinn shut it down in a team address. Voice iron. Merit only. But doubt seated. Rowan catching Quinn's distant stares. Late night solitary. Confrontation brewed. Over coffee in Quinn's office. Door locked. Talk to me, Rowan urged. Hands on desk. Quinn's eyes met. Pained. The boards sniffing. Old grudge from arrival. Fear gripped. The bubble thinning. Rowan pushed. Then we go public. Own it. Quinn laughed bitter. And tank the firm? No. Words escalated. Voices rising despite caution. Hurts airing. Quinn's control issues clashing with Rowan's need for openness. You're ashamed, Rowan accused. Tears hot. Quinn recoiled. I'm protecting us. Door slammed on Rowan's exit. Heart splintered. Corridors blurring through blur. Days of ice. Communication emails only. Professional frost. Rowan sought solace in friends. Bar in the East Village. Shots burning. Laughter forced. Sarah joined. Probing gentle. Trouble with the boss? Rowan deflected. But ache deepened. Night sleepless. Body craving. Mind reeling. Quinn fared worse. Reports of her snapping at staff. Long hours alone. Break came unexpected. Holiday party looming. But before. A client crisis in Boston. Emergency trip. Quinn assigned Rowan. Voice neutral over phone. Handle it. Prove yourself. Train ride north. Snow blanketing tracks. Rowan's mind churned scenarios. The separation a test. Hotel in Back Bay. Meetings grueling. But success swift. Deal salvaged. Call to Quinn that night. Voice tentative. We did it. Pause long. Then Quinn's exhale. You did. Come back. Return brought thaw. Airport pickup Quinn's doing. Car idling curbside. Silence initial. Then Quinn's hand on gearshift covering Rowan's. I was wrong. Apartment that night. Apologies and touches. Slow and healing. Bodies rediscovering. Whispers of forever amid gasps. No more hiding, Quinn vowed. Dawn light gilding them. Rowan believed. Hope fragile bloom. But shadows lingered. Party eve. Invitations glittering. Quinn paced her loft. Tuxedo laid out. One night. Act normal. Rowan nodded. Dress shimmering. But inside. Resolve hardened. Event in a grand ballroom. Chandeliers dripping light. Orchestra swelling. Toasts rang. Dances swirled. And midway. Quinn pulled Rowan to the floor. Waltz formal. Bodies close. Beautiful, Quinn breathed. Hand low on back. Rowan searched her eyes. Tell them. Hesitation. Then Quinn nodded. Leading her to the mic mid-speech. A moment, she said. Voice steady. Pulling Rowan forward. This success owes to many. But especially her. My partner. In every sense. Gasps rippled. Then applause tentative. Faces turning. Rowan's hand squeezed Quinn's. Tears pricking. The weight lifting. Back at table. Kisses stolen. World shifting. The fallout brewed slow. Whispers turning to emails. Board summoning Quinn dawn after. Glass conference room cold. She faced them alone. Suit impeccable. Voice unyielding. Personal lives don't dictate performance. Arguments volleyed. Old guards citing optics. But Quinn countered with metrics. Merger wins. Rowan's contributions quantified. Lose her. Lose innovation. Hours dragged. Coffee cold. Until concession. Wary approval. Discreet, they stipulated. And Quinn emerged. Text to Rowan simple. Cleared. Us. Relief flooded. Office that day electric. Colleagues' glances curious but kind. Sarah's wink conspiratorial. Lunch shared openly. Hands across table. Fingers laced casual. Afternoon blurred in euphoria. Projects flowing. Ideas sparked in tandem. Evening. Dinner at a quiet Italian in Little Italy. Candlelit corner. Pasta twirling. Wine loosening tongues. Scared me, Rowan admitted. Fork pausing. Quinn's eyes softened. Me too. But worth every fight. Winter deepened. Holidays approaching. City blanketed white. Decorations twinkling. They hosted a small gathering. Quinn's loft strung with lights. Friends mingling. Laughter warm. Rowan in the kitchen. Stirring mulled wine. Quinn's arms encircling from behind. Chin on shoulder. This. You. Home. The word hung. Profound. And Rowan turned. Kissing soft. Always. Christmas Eve. They drove upstate. Hudson Valley roads winding. Snow soft under tires. Cabin rented. Stone fireplace crackling. Tree small and fragrant. Gifts exchanged simple. A leather-bound journal from Quinn for Rowan's sketches. Compass necklace from Rowan mirroring the tattoo. Night fell early. Stars pricking black. And they made love slow by firelight. Bodies mapping familiar paths. Sighs blending with wood pops. Love you, Quinn whispered post-climax. Face buried in Rowan's neck. Love you, echoed back. Tears salting skin. New Year brought resolutions unspoken. Focus on balance. Weekends claimed. Spring thawed. Cherry blossoms in Washington Square. Picnics on blankets. Books shared. Work evolved. Rowan promoted. Corner office adjacent Quinn's. Doors often open. Collaboration seamless. Challenges came. Market dips. Client losses. But they weathered. Late nights turning strategy sessions intimate. Coffee laced with kisses. Summer heat wave. Escape to Cape Cod. Rented cottage on dune's edge. Waves crashing eternal. Days beach combing. Shells collected. Evenings on porch swings. Gin and tonic sweating. One storm night. Thunder rolling Atlantic. Power out. They lit candles. Stories traded by flicker. Vulnerabilities aired anew. Never thought I'd have this, Quinn said. Hand in Rowan's. Me neither. Grateful. Fall returned. Anniversary marking that spilled coffee year past. Dinner at the boardroom's restaurant. Private booth. Toasts to mistakes turned miracles. Dances close. Bodies swaying. Home. Bed welcoming. Lovemaking tender. Reaffirming. Life layered. Complexities woven. But core solid. Desire evolved to devotion. Years folded. Firm thriving. Expansions to Austin. Team grown. Rowan led her division. Quinn mentored. Their partnership legend whispered. Challenges persisted. Family visits tense. Ohiokins slow to accept. Sacramento calls strained. But bridges built gradual. Dinners hosted. Truths shared. Pride marches joined. Rainbows pinned. Community found. One evening. Central Park twilight. Bench by the bridge. Leaves gold. Quinn knelt sudden. Ring box velvet. Marry me. Build forever. Tears flowed. Rowan's yes a breath. Embrace fierce under emerging stars. Wedding small. Beach in Maine. Waves witness. Vows exchanged sunset hued. Through spills and storms, Quinn promised. To desire's end, Rowan replied. Life post vows deepened. Home bought in Hudson Heights. Garden planted. Travels to Italy. Markets bustling. Hands held in crowds. Children discussed. Adoption paths explored. Dreams voiced over breakfasts. Setbacks hit. Health scare for Quinn. Biopsy weighed agonizing. But clear. Clinging tighter. Rowan's book published. Marketing tales raw. Quinn first reader. Pride beaming at launch. Ages crept. Lines etching faces. Hair silvering. But passion endured. Anniversaries revisited. Coffee spilled playful. Retirement whispered. Firm passed to trusted hands. Adventures planned. Road trip cross country. Stops at Roots. In a diner off Route 66. Pancakes steaming. Quinn's hand over Rowan's. Eyes still blue fire. Best mistake ever. Laughter shared. Full circle. Legacy lingered. Mentorships given. Stories told to young sparks. Love's power emphasized. Evenings quiet. Porch rockers creaking. Sunsets painting sky. Regrets? Rowan asked once. Head on Quinn's lap. None. You. Quinn's fingers and hair. Only not sooner. Peace settled. Humanistic echo. Two lives intertwined. Proof that from punishment blooms profound grace. Desire's flame eternal. Warming against time's chill. In the end, as autumn leaves fell soft, they walked the park path. Arms linked. Breaths synced. The world a canvas painted shared. No grand finale. Just quiet continuance. The spill a distant memory. Love the enduring stain. Deep and indelible.